Welcome to my Hebrew channel, Mielabraika, and today we're looking at a very interesting place name, Heshbon. I'm doing this because Heshbon is the name of a city over in the Transjordan. It was on the route that the Israelites took when they were invading from the east. They'd originally tried to invade the Promised Land through the south, hadn't worked, so they had to take a long detour. They swung out way out into the Moab. They're past Moab, and they're on their way to Heshbon. Heshbon's standing right in the route, and so they ask for a safe passage. The king of Heshbon refuses, not a good idea, and the Lord hands the city over to the Israelites. So Heshbon, very important. I'm doing this study because Heshbon is based on a Hebrew verb, hashbah, chet shin bet, and this particular verb means to plan or to plot. So when the Lord is planning something, he's planning it, he's considering it for good. When man is planning something, he's considering for bad. So when you see this verb used by the Lord, okay, he's doing some good things. When you see it used by men, it's not so good. It's actually a bad thing. So it depends on who's doing it. So if the Lord's doing it, it's going to be good. If the man is doing it, then it's, of course, it's evil plotting. So, and Jeremiah, in fact, connects the whole matter of planning and plotting with the name of the city. So that's where we're going. This is sort of a lengthy way of getting at what this particular, when it uses a verb, where it comes from. So Heshbon, name of the city. And we're going to get to defining that city. For Heshbon was the city of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab and taken all of his land out of his hand as far as the Arnon. So, and incidentally, if the Moabites were strong, they'd be north of the Arnon. If they were weak, they're south of the Arnon. So they apparently were weak at this point because Sihon managed to take all the territory from his city, Heshbon, all the way down to the Arnon. So he had covered quite an extensive. So it means this guy was sort of a mini imperialist. He really had control. In fact, when he's talked about actually quite a bit throughout the scriptures, and using an example of somebody who really had pretty good smarts as to control large pieces of territory, which eventually were handed over to the Israelites. So it's Sihon is sort of, one of the kings that were beat out by the Israelites, or beat out by Jehovah on their invasion. So Ki Heshbon, Ir Shihon, so Heshbon, city of Shihon. Shihon, sometimes it's translated Shehon, but Shihon, Melech HaAmori, he, Behu, okay, he Behu. Interesting counterpoint here. He, this is, of course, a personal pronoun. This is also a personal pronoun. Both of them are He, Vav, Aleph, He, Vav, Aleph. This one is he, that is she, and this one's he, okay? He and she. Now, antecedents. Every time you see a pronoun, you got to start thinking, where does this connect? It connects here. He is actually the Ir, the city, okay? Translators aren't going to bother repeating this particular pronoun here, but the Hebrew has put it in, and the reason for putting it in, it just simply adds emphasis to what this city is. Wow, this is a big deal. This is a big city. This is a powerful city. Maybe not such a large city, but a city in which the king had a lot of smarts. Okay, he had a lot of heshbah. He had a lot of power, plotting power. Okay, so Ki Heshbon, Ir, Shihon, Melech Hamori, he, okay, the city, Behu, and he, that is he. Now we're getting back to the masculine pronoun here, and the reference here would be Melech, okay, the king, Shihon, Melech. Behu and he, Nicham, fought a battle, Bamelech, Moab, against the king of Moab. Harishon, from the start. In other words, looking back into history here, when we're seeing this particular former king. This is a previous battle, previous conquest that Shihon had accomplished. Vayikach, and he took et kol aratzo, all of his land, meyado, in his hand, from his power, Ad Arnon, all the way to the Arnon. Arnon was, if you're studying the geography of the Dead Sea or the Salt Sea, you go about halfway down, and there's a big canyon. It's the Grand Canyon of the Jordan, and this is a large, yeah, geographical feature, and of course it would be a natural border or boundary, and so that's as far as he got in terms of there's a large chunk of land that Shihon Melech HaOmri managed to get a hold of. So it's an indication of his power, his ability, his ability to plan things and plot things, even the ability to beat out the king of Moab. And incidentally, over history, he keeps popping up here and there throughout the Old Testament, all the way up to Jeremiah, because he's kind of an example as to, wow, when you got worldly smarts. So they would point to Shihon, and also, and incidentally, this particular territory, Heshbon, compared to also, that would be the southern territory and the northern territory of Bashan. So those two are always sort of in counterpoint. Got a little map here, and the people of Reuben built Heshbon, Eleale, Kiryatayim, and just what interests us here is just the route that the Israelites took through the King's Highway, which went on the northern or on the upper plains of the Moab here. So it's a tableland, very flat, just even to this day, great grain producing area, Jordan, and it goes right straight up like here, beneath, and then to get on down to the river here, you follow the highway around, and you get to Heshbon. Take a good look here at Heshbon. It happens to be right at the smack of a very crucial crossroads, and so anybody who's controlling Heshbon is controlling a lot of the area, because it's simply a crossroads in the crucial crossroads. So of course, when the Israelites came, either they got permission to go by or they didn't. They didn't, and so the Lord handed Heshbon over to the Israelites, and it was destroyed. And then later on, as we see here, Reuben took the place over and rebuilt it. So it says here built. Some other translations will say rebuilt. So Heshbon, and then they went on down here to Avel Shittim. Avel Shittim is most probably the place in which the people of Israel stayed while they did the second reading of the law, the Deuteronomy, and so this was a place of preparation, and this was a springboard then to cross the Jordan when they eventually went on to Gilgal, and then later on attacking Jericho as the first major city they destroyed on the western side of the river. So here's the crossing of the Jordan. So it's a crucial spot. People of Reuben built Heshbon, Eleale, and Kiryatayim. And so this is Heshbon, and Eleale is right near there, the first one before you get to Heshbon. And Kiryatayim is out here facing the sea. Kiryatayim means the heights with two horns, or two horns. And, Kiryatayim. Kiryat is the top or upper, the horn. And so this one is a dual. It's a two horn place. Okay, Kiryatayim. Nice little dual in here. And Nebo is in the middle here, and of course that's the spot where Moses could observe. And on a clear day, yeah, you can see all the way up to almost all the way up to Hermon. It has to be a clear day. It has to be a day on which there's been a good rain to wash the dust out of the air, and then you can see the whole land in front of you. So that's as far as Moses got, and just to be able to see the land in front of him. He was not allowed to go in. And so the people of God and the people of Reuben came and said to Moses and to Eleazar the priest and to the chiefs of the congregation, saying, Ve'yabohu b'nei Gad u'b'nei Reuben, ve'yomaru el Moshe ve'el Eleazar haKohen ve'el Nishe'e ha'edah lemor. And so the people of God here and the people of Reuben They said Al Moshe, okay, here's Moses. We have an S on the end here because of the Greek. They like sigmas on the end of their names, so they took Moshe and put a Moses on the end of it. Moshe. Al Eliezer, that's God is helping. Eliezer, the priest. A Kohen, of course, is priest, and even to this day, if a Jewish family carries the name Kohen, they're very, very proud of the fact that they are derived from the priesthood. HaKohen Al Nishi'eh, and to the chiefs, the head guys, Hadet of the congregation of the ones giving testimony, Lemor, saying, and here's the list of places that they're requesting. Okay, Atorot, Dibon, Yasser, Nimra, Heshbon, Elealeah, Eleale, Shebam, Nebo, Beon, the land that Jehovah struck down before the congregation of Israel, is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. So the Reubenites here are requesting this land because they had a lot of cattle. They wanted a good place to pasture those animals. And so, yeah, and it is very true. It's a flat land. It's based on chalk. It's a very land that has a lot of space to it, and even to this day. So it would be a land very appropriate. It's very true of what they're saying right here. Atarot, and so here's the names of all the places on the list. Some of them were on my map, some of them aren't, but yeah, Nebo was on, Heshbon was on, Elealeah was on, okay. So Atarot, Dibon, Yaser, Nimra, Heshbon, Elealeah, Shebam, Nebo, okay, famous place where Moses managed to see the land. Nebo Beon, okay, Nebo Nebeon. Both of these are sudics, and sudics introduced. It's a very phonetic reason why they use a sudic, even up to here. Here they're va, ve, you're getting used to ve dibon, ve asare, ve nimra, ve heshbon, ve el all of a sudden, instead of ve, have sudics, and the reason is that it's a phonetic reason, just a nun and a bet. These are labels. Being labials, they're going to take a sudic introducing them. So, shibam, nebo, beon. So these u's are because of the labials, the particular consonants that happen to start these words. Haaretz, in the land, Asher, Hika, Jehovah, that the Lord struck. Kaf, every time you see a kaf, you have to think of the palm of the hand, and that can either be helping or clobbering. In this case, it is clobbering. Okay, boom. Hikach, Yehovah, Hikach. Lifnei Adet, in front of the face of the congregation. Yisrael, of course. Jehovah's God is a prince. Asher, Aretz, land Miknah, of cattle. He, it is. When you see this personal pronoun here, look for the antecedent. The antecedent, of course, is aretz. So, Migne aretz he, that is it. Le avadecha, to your servants. Mikna, same thing as here. Mikna, Migne. Migne then is also livestock. So, livestock appears twice in Migne. It means that in Hebrew. Jeremiah, a reference now take it here, we're centuries on in the history, and Jeremiah is still talking about Heshbon. And why? Because he's talking about the destruction that's coming from the Babylonians, and guess what? Heshbon's still in the middle of that scenario. And in other words, what's going to happen to Moab? In other words, the same attack that Heshbon made on Moab way back when the Israelites were on the Exodus, that same attack is going to come again. This time, of course, it's going to be coming from the Babylonians. So now the renown of Moab is no more. In Heshbon, they planned disaster against her. And the reason I have this one included is here we do see a good connection between Heshbon and planning something. Okay, same root Hebrew word here for Heshbon, the place of planning, and the plan. Same thing. We're going to look at that. Disaster, Ra, against her. Come, let us cut her off from being a nation. You also, O madmen, this is a very literal transliteration of the Hebrew that we have there, shall be brought to silence. The sword shall pursue you. The sword shall go walking after you. Oh boy. Acharecha telech heraf. Very, very graphic way of, here comes the sword walking behind you. I'm going to chop you up. Okay. Now, ein means there is no more. Ein od, there's more, no more again. Tihilat, the fame, the renown. Tihilat, the praise, actually can also mean praise. Tihilat Moav, of Moab. Be Heshbon, in Heshbon. Hashbu. Okay, take a look here. This is one reason, this is the main reason I picked this passage here, is just to get the relationship of the name and the name and verb. Okay, Heshbon is the name, title of the place, Heshbon, and Hashbu is planned, plot. Okay, Hashbu, Eliah, against her, Ra, evil, Leku, Nikratena, let's come on and let's cut her off. Me Goy, from the nations. Gam med madmen here. When you read it in English, you think, oh, crazy people. No, madmen is actually the straight out transliteration of madmen. Some of them say city of madmen. Of course, city isn't mentioned here, but it is a city here. Madmen, tidimi shall be brought to silence. Achericha, telech herev, coming right after you will become walking. The sword comes walking after you, comes after you to chop you up. So, very graphic description. But take a quick look here, and this is the reason I have it here. Heshbon, in the plotting place, they plotted. Okay, in the plotting places, they plotted. So Heshbon, Heshbu. Okay, Hashbu. There it is. Works as a verb, and that's what we're going to be looking at now in the next few studies. I got one more verse, one more slide here. Comes from Genesis, and we're going to do another study on this one. So the next study will be based on what happens here. Ve'atem, as for you, hashbutem. Okay, you plotted, you planned. Hashbutem ale. Ra, or against me, evil. Okay, Ale, Ra. Elohim, okay, these you are the brothers. Joseph is speaking here. Atem hashbetem, you planned, Ali, against me, Ra, evil. Elohim hasheva, le tova. Okay, so you got Ra and Tova. This is evil, this is good. And this is evil, and this is for good. Now, this is a second person plural here. Hashbetem, you plotted, and Hashbe'ah, he plotted, and this is, you'll have a pronoun at the end here. You have to have the reference of this. He planted it, actually her, and what is the antecedent for this pronoun? Look back here to Ra. He took this plan of evil and he brought it over into good. Okay, so this is the personal pronoun that's a suffix to the end of this particular verb here, hashbe'ah. Now, we wouldn't want to leave it as a feminine ending of a verb. It isn't. That's why the mapik's in here to sort of remind us this is a suffix pronoun. Isn't automatically always suffix pronoun. It just means simply something has to be pronounced here. Okay, hasheba, Ra, you planned it for, he considered it for evil but made it into good. Okay, so, and this is a key concept that we have in our relationship with God. The things that we are going to put together for evil, the Lord can use for good. It's one of the ways the world is. It's an operating principle of the universe, I'm going to say here. And so when evil things happen, we have to meditate on that a little bit and say, maybe the Lord wanted to do some good from it. And so at the time, we probably won't see it. Maybe over time we might be able to see it. Maybe only in glory would we see any kind of good coming from something, some kind of disaster. So anyway, it's a good concept to keep in mind that even the bad things in life can be used for good by the Lord. So incidentally, in translations, I put in here, you planned evil and God planned it for good. English translations tend to use entirely different verbs here when they're counterpointing these two activities. But Hebrew, it is very much the same root here. You planned it for evil, God planned it for good. And you had plotted for evil, and God changed it over to good. I sometimes like to keep the same verb in a sequence just to show that it's a counterpoint here. As for you, you planned evil against me, but God planned it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. Lema'an, for the purpose of Asho Keyom Hazeh Lehayot Rav. So as for this day today, we have a day with either, in fact, you do have a definite article here with a patah. Kayom Hazeh, this day, today, Hayato, it would be Rav. This is then a feminine. This is a feminine infinitive, because whenever you have a lam of purpose, preposition of purpose in front of a verb, for it to be Rav, for it to be a great people, numerous people. Rav is long or numerous people. So, again, back to the concept. Some evil things are probably happening in this world. At this point, we can't see yet how God uses it for good, but the Lord most certainly can use evil things in this world for good, and that's how some things, hopefully, and certainly will be our prayer, that's what will happen. That even though there are bad things in the world, God can use them for good, and so that should be our prayer. So God bless and God strengthen you in this day.